Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here for the next in our series of fabulous classic film scores. I am so excited about this series. There is so much wonderful stuff to talk about. And today we are going to talk about Korngold's The Prince and the Pauper. I love this score. This may be my favorite Korngold score, just because the tune is so great. The tune, the main tune of this, which I'm going to play you, is the tune of the finale of his violin concerto. Do do da 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 da. You know that tune, right? Yes, it's glorious. In fact, let's listen to the title track right now. Nothing, no chatty stuff first. First, some music. Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so much fun. It's just joyous, joyous music. What makes Korngold so special, I have to say, is that, there are a lot of child prodigies who tank. They never fulfill themselves. And Korngold was a fully fulfilled composer by the age of like 11. He really, really was. But he always retained that childlike, that freshness. He never got spoiled. No matter how psychotic his opera libretti were, and some of them were, and no matter how tough his life was or what he was doing, that fresh spring-like joy in music is something that you hear in every note that he wrote, and he's so open and honest about his schmaltziness, his love of kitsch. It's a little kitschy, okay. But it is. He's not hiding it. He's not pretending it's anything other than what it is. It's just marvelous. One of the reasons his sound is so special is that it has this luminous inner quality, because he uses in his film scores and in his orchestral works too, his later ones particularly, an entire gamelan of percussion instruments. He uses very regularly the glockenspiel, but also vibraphone and marimba with a celesta, and they play a lot. They double the melodic line. They play all the time. It gives the whole score a very, very characteristic sound that's just yummy, absolutely yummy. And this one is no exception, not at all. I also loved the movie when I was a kid. Have you seen this one? It's Mark Twain, The Prince and the Pauper. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. And this performance is spectacular. And I want to tell you a little bit about the label and the performers, of course, because you know who they are. The score restoration was done by John Morgan, and the conductor is William Stromberg. These are the people who did Naxos's film music series with the Moscow Philharmonic, which is what's on here. I also, by the way, love to hear the Moscow Philharmonic because I donated their percussion instruments years and years and years ago when the conductor Antonio de Almeida was making recordings of Tornemir and So Gay and Malipiero's symphonies and all that stuff, and they were still in the old Soviet Union, and they're just after the old Soviet Union, and they had nothing. And so I gave him a huge box of tam-tams and cymbals and tambourines and triangles, all kinds of stuff. I don't know if they're still using this stuff. I have no idea. But I did recognize some of it in some of those older recordings. And so I'm always curious to see what they're sounding like now. And they sound pretty good. Let me tell you, they sound really, really good on this recording particularly. But anyway, so William Stromberg and John Morgan and I'm sorry, it's Anne Bonn. There we go. We know Morgan and Stromberg from the Marco Polo releases because they got the prominent billing. Anyway, they patched together, reconstructed all of these scores and did these recordings. And then, after a while, the Marco Polo or Naxos series ended, and they wanted to continue doing these things. So they started their own label. The label is called Tribute Film Classics. It has a very small catalog, only 8 titles. Beautiful, well-chosen titles. They've got Bernard Herrmann's Fahrenheit 451, for example, and some really, really cool stuff. And this is one of the coolest. And so I was thrilled to find this stuff and just delighted that I got permission to play samples and to be able to just talk about this absolutely spectacular music. Now, I do want to say, you can purchase this stuff. I don't find it easily on Amazon. But if you go to their website, tributefilmclassics.com, they have a vendor who's actually quite an interesting vendor. And I want to tell you who they are, too. And I'm not getting any promotional consideration here. I just want you to know. It's called Screen Archives Entertainment. And they have this stuff, and I'm going to put a link to that website at the bottom of this video so that you can go and find all of the Tribute Film Classics titles. And you'll have a source for them because you just, sourcing stuff these days is so difficult. It's just so aggravating. So The Prince of the Pauper is, you heard the opening track. It's absolutely wonderful. And one of the other things that makes Korngold so spectacular, this is about 65 minutes of music that he wrote for this movie, and it divides up into teeny little sniglets, about like 43 or so of them. There are a lot of tracks, which means they're very, very short, but it doesn't matter with Korngold because his Wagnerian leitmotif technique means that the fabric of the score is essentially symphonic, and it's based on just a few motives that continually come back and are modified and changed depending on the dramatic situation. And he also made sure that even if there was some sort of separation between cues that had music in them, that they would work continuously. And they do. You put this thing on and you let it go, and you're not even conscious of the fact half the time that one track has ended and another has begun. Sometimes you are, but it adds up into large continuous chunks of music that are just, delightful to listen to. And I'm going to play you another one now, which is wonderful. It's The Riot. It's a riot. And the thing I want you to do is pay attention to the tune, the main tune of The Riot, because it's a very interesting tune. And we get to hear a slow version of it in the next cut, which is the dinner scene. So it's obviously not a riot, but the theme is exactly the same because they're leitmotifs and they identify characters and situations. But more interestingly, the main tune of The Riot and later the dinner scene, and we hear it, more times than that as the thing goes on, is very strikingly, suspiciously similar to the opening violin solo and the second Nachtmusik of Mahler's Seventh Symphony. Now, coincidence? Who knows? Possibly, but it's the same tune. Da, 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 da. That thing. Rhythm's a little different. It's awfully close. And what I've done in this little sample here is I've given you the entire riot, the entire track. It's only about a minute and a half long, and then the opening of the dinner scene. So you can hear the same melody in its slowed down transformation. and most Mahlerian sounding transformation. So here again is William Stromberg and the Moscow Symphony doing a little bit, The Riot and the Dinner Scene from The Prince and the Pauper by Korngold. Wasn't that great? Isn't that fun? I mean, it makes you want to listen to the whole thing. And the time just flies by. It's the nicest 65 minutes of music you'll ever hear in your life. So I just hope that this serves to introduce this boutique, very boutique label with its limited but excellent catalog that I shall be talking about everything in it one point or another, because they're kind enough to let me, and because the music deserves the exposure. And I really, really hope that you will, get some of this music for yourself and enjoy it as much as I do. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.